Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
It's Sunday, the 6th of May, 2018, and what lovely weather we're having. About bloody time someone decided to come out and we'll have a bit of nice weather. Let's hope it's going to be like this now for tomorrow as well. It's good to see the sun. It cheers everybody up, makes people happy and everything else. So it's good seeing it. Right, our guest on the show tonight is a chap called Danny Searle, who's a spiritual guidance counsellor. Now, Danny is located in Australia, so it's silly o'clock at the moment where he is at the moment. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. So fair play to Danny for getting up early and coming on the show. As you know, our show is live, so we can't really move it. So fair play to Danny for getting up. So we'll be bringing Danny in a few minutes and having a chat with Danny. But before we do that, we're going to find out what the communication channels are, and then we'll go through a few bits and pieces.
Okay, communication channels, folks.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, thank you, Mary. OYM. The chat room is located actually on the website there. If you go to oymradio.com, you will see all the usual links there for the anti-social media, Facebook, for Twitter, for Skype, for the email, and also for the YouTube channel. And as we said, the chat room is on there as well. If you are a registered user, you can log into the chat room and you can put your questions there for a guest this evening. Questions and comments, I suppose. We also, as I say, the email address info@oymradio.com. You can send us in emails during the show or during the week. Just let us know if you have any questions, or if you just want to say hi, let us know where you're tuning in from or what you thought of the show. We also monitor People's Internet Radio chat room as well, and a big hi to everyone logged into both of those chat rooms. There are many other links and lots of information on our website, so please do check it out and let us know what you think. Alan.
Brilliant stuff. Right, okay, starting off, just a couple of things, as usual. Now, some listeners might remember that we said that we would help Trevor to raise funds for the Open Mind team if they were out of pocket regarding the conference cancellations. Now, I've checked with Trevor, a few weeks ago I checked with Trevor, and they said that they are fine, that there were very few cancellations. Now, what we'd like to still do is something for charity, and Ashleen from the You're Not Alone Homeless charity is now running a food bank for families who are struggling. So the idea about the auction for the dinner with me and Steve is still going to be on the table. So basically the idea is this: we'll bring the winner of the auction to a local restaurant for a 3-course meal and a chat. Now obviously we pay for the meal, but we can't afford to pay travelling expenses. We don't have that kind of money. So if you would like to put a bid in, we put it up on Facebook and MeWe anyway. Times and dates will be sorted with the winner. But basically what we'd like to do is we want to raise funds for the food bank that Ashleen is running. And if we do get like a big amount, obviously what we'll do is we'll divide that up and use it for other groups as well. Now we have a bid in already, and thanks to the person that put the bid in, and the bid is €100 at the moment. So, which is great, fantastic, and if it even stays at €100, that's fine, it's not a problem. But if anybody would like to have myself and Steve's undivided attention and have a meal at the same time, then you know what to do. Send us a bid via email, and send us your bid in, and what we'll do is we'll update the website with the latest bid and let you know. And maybe what we'll do is we'll run it for about till the end of May. And we'll see how we get on at the end of May and see how it goes. And if you can, you know, it is for a good cause. It's for charity, and obviously you'll get a chance to obviously speak to me and Steve, and we'll probably wreck your head for the length of the meal, will we?
Well, you will anyway. So I mean, I don't know, Happy Meal at McDonald's, I suppose.
It's going to be better than that. We'll push out the boat a little bit.
Burger King.
We'll do better than that, you know?
Yeah, no, it'll be a bit of fun. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if somebody wants to donate money just for, if you have a few euro and you want to donate money just for the charity, just to help Ashling out, you can do so. You don't have to kind of, worry about winning a bid or like that. But if you do want to donate money, you can do that as well. Just give us a shout there, contact us and let us know.
Brilliant stuff. And I'll just do a reminder at the end of the show as well. Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, we have some information from the Irish Mirror .ie, and this is from Pat Flanagan, and it says Ireland is the world's most corrupt country, where even the fraud figures are fraudulent. The government wants us to inform on dole diddlers who steal millions while they ignore the corporate criminals and tax cheats who cost us billions. Have you ever heard an advert on the radio urging the public to inform on white-collar criminals? Or have you ever seen a bus with a huge sign warning that corporate criminals and tax cheats are cheating us all? But you do know you are in seriously crooked state when the government doctors figures to exaggerate the amount of welfare fraud while turning a blind eye to the massive tax scams. And also from this same article, it says, a Polish gentleman has accused me of being inaccurate when I claimed some weeks back that Ireland is one of the most corrupt countries in the Western world. In his experience, he maintains this country is the most corrupt country in the entire world. And after recent events, I have to admit, he is right. Yeah, and everything that's been going on, yeah, too right. And the last thing on the list here is from the NewYorkTimes.com website. And NewYorkTimes.com said that Ireland investigates cervical cancer screening scandal. The Irish government announced on Monday that it was opening an official inquiry and setting up phone helplines and emergency testing after it emerged that a publicly funded smear test programme had mistakenly cleared at least 208 women who later received diagnosis of cervical cancer. The 208 women received false negatives between 2010 and 2014. At least 17 of these women have since died, Irish officials said, although they added that they could not confirm the causes of death. Prime Minister Leo Varadkar said Monday that he was very angry and saddened by the case. Yeah, I bet he is. He said the government would investigate what he described as an appalling communication failures and examine the testing process. You know, have we not learned anything? Remember thalidomide in the 60s and asbestos? It's the same thing over and over again when the scandal happens. Oh, we're very sorry. Didn't mean it to happen, and we'll check it out. And, you know, whoever was involved or the politician involved at the time, well, he's long gone or moved on or retired, so they can't go after him. It's the same stuff over and over again, and we keep voting these parasites in over and over again. When are we going to learn? It's just unbelievable, and I believe the UK is going through this as well. I've seen something along the line saying that the UK had false tests as well. Yeah, positives. Yeah, actually, the UK are going through a bit of a scandal here at the moment as well in relation to mammograms, breast checks, where there's this computerised system, and they said that because of an algorithm that went wrong, a couple of thousand people were not basically invited back for a fifth and final scan, breast check mammogram, and they say that because of this, they reckon that a couple of hundred people may have died unnecessarily. But they also mentioned in the same article that, you know, when you do keep going back for these mammograms on the breast check, that the radiation from the mammogram can also trigger off cancer as well. You know? So. And mammograms have been known to be, the research has been done to say that they're not good for you. But, you know, I'd go and do the research and check it out yourself. Well, I won't be having one myself. No, definitely not. My boobs are fine, thank you very much. My man boobs. How's your week? Yeah, my week's fine. Not too much to really talk about, but you did mention a couple of weeks back that you had some contacts from ladies on Facebook. That's right. Wanting to be your friend. Well, yep. And I said, no, I've never received any of these. And I got one today. I actually got one today. I was delighted. Needless to say, I didn't click on it. I didn't want to be your friend. But yeah, it was one of these, you know, kind of good-looking, blonde hair, blue eyes, kind of women. And I didn't know her, and we didn't have anything in common. I think she had about maybe 4 or 5 friends, of which I didn't know any of them. So I thought, yeah, she must have me confused with Alan. So I sent her your details. Oh, yeah. No, well, can I just say, I did get another one today from a blonde lipstick. Although, instead of her feeling, she obviously didn't speak English, it wasn't her first language, because she said she felt very corny. And I think she meant horny, but she had corny on it. Okay, feeling corny. Yes, what else we got? Yeah, the Lemurian plug. We spoke of the Lemurian plug, and we kind of had the people who run the company, we had them on recently, and we talked about all the benefits. And I seen an article today and I can't remember where I seen it. You know when you're kind of browsing, you come across things, but I seen an article where somebody has actually got a Lemurian plug, and they've combined it with shungite. And seemingly you have to have two pieces of shungite, and the two pieces have to be married and not you know what I mean, kind of together. Yeah. And the two pieces of shungite in connection with the Lemurian plug is supposed to be mind blowing. Allegedly, it's supposed to be very good for, you know, harmonising the home, etc., warding off various different things. And the prongs on the plug, I actually opened mine today, and the prongs, I actually removed them. I removed the prongs. So I have that sitting at home on an adapter, and I have a piece of shungite sitting on top of that. I didn't notice anything immediately, but we'll see what happens over the week and, you know, the next couple of days. But I don't know. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe it will. Braces. I want to just throw it out there. If anyone has any information in relation to braces, my daughter was fitted with braces on Friday. Today's Sunday, so that was 2 days ago, and she's been in absolute agony ever since, and she's had some painkillers, and she's using ice packs, and like we've been kind of trying to comfort her. I gave her a treatment with the pain genie. She had the pain genie on her face last night, and nothing seems to work. She got no sleep last night and is in constant pain. I don't know if this is supposed to be the way you're affected with braces, if it's kind of par for the course. But if anyone has any experience or any remedies or ideas, if you could just maybe lash them in the old chat box there, that would be much appreciated. Give me something to do when I go home, I suppose. Alan reminded me, I sent him an email during the week. This is on something completely different. Gardaí will now have the power to intercept Facebook messages, WhatsApp messages and emails. It's not actually news, it's old news. It's not new news. This was back in 2016. I came across it recently during the week on the internet in an article. I think it was on the irishtimes.com, and basically because they're saying, you know, when there's criminals are doing obviously criminal things and activities, and they're saying because they're using these social media apps that they're kind of eluding the Gardaí. So basically what the Gardaí, they've said they were looking for new powers, and I believe they were granted these new powers from what the article said. And again, it was 2 years ago, but so if they suspect you of doing anything, they can intercept your Facebook messages or your WhatsApp or whatever, Twitter and all those other things that people use on their smartphones, etc., etc. So they can all be intercepted. So nothing is secure anymore. And where else am I going to go? Yeah, that's it. That's all I actually have to talk about for the week. How's your week?
Not too bad. Just an update before we get Danny on. Just an update on Linda and Gordon from Balbriggan. I'm sure some of you know the case where they were trying to protect their home and communicate with KBC Bank to try and sort things out, but they got evicted from the property and we went to court. Basically, what happened was it seemed to be planned where they had to go to court, and when they went to court, as soon as they left the house, the Gardaí were around the corner, and basically the Gardaí stooped to a new low because they become the evictors. They became like the bailiffs. Now, Gardaí should be only keepers of the peace. They shouldn't be involved in any civil matter. Criminal matter, yes, but this was a civil matter. It wasn't a criminal matter. So they stooped to a no low and waited until the couple went to court to defend their home from KBC Bank, and they busted into the house. Apparently Gordon and Linda's child was in the house, but this is unconfirmed, so we don't know. So instead of being peacekeepers, they were supposed to be under the Constitution and the law of the land, they had crossed the line and are now just a bunch of thugs working for the banks via the courts. That's basically, now they've crossed the line. They've stopped being peacekeepers. Linda and Gordon were brought to Bridewell and then on to Mountjoy prison, all for defending their home and asking a judge if it was positive law or law. It sounds to me that Pat Flanagan from the Irish Mirror was right, the world's most corrupt country, and also it looks like the Black and Tans are alive and well in our Gardaí. Dan Breen will be rolling around in his grave. For people who know the history of the Irish Rising, Dan Breen was one of the heroes. And if you go on YouTube and type in Dan Breen, you'll actually see him talking. He was interviewed about it, the things that he did at the time of the Rising, you know. It's sad. I mean, a lot of people are looking at that case and just can't believe it, that how the court system and the Gardaí, and I mean, there's no justice. There doesn't seem to be any more justice anymore in Ireland. Linda was asking the question to the judge, and she said dwelling, and the judge said property, and she said no, dwelling, and they wouldn't accept the word dwelling for some reason. They wouldn't accept it. Although it's in their constitution, they wouldn't accept it. And Linda wasn't even on the mortgage. Her name wasn't even on. She's not part of the mortgage. It was Gordon. But yet she got arrested with Gordon. Now they spent a few hours, but basically they're now homeless. I mean, everybody's chipping in, and a lot of people are chipping in and helping out and all that, which is great. But fundamentally, they're homeless now. So it's a bad state of affairs. It really is, when we stoop that low, when the system stoops that low, all because of greed, and control. What the solution is, I really don't know, folks. I don't know what the solution is. But I'm just hoping that something positive comes out of it in some way. That's all. I just hope it does anyway. And the second thing before we bring Danny on is, I don't know whether people have seen this, but during the week Trump mentioned setting up a space force. He was talking about it. He goes, he said, we have the Air Force and we have the Navy and all, so why don't we have one? I think we should have a space force. Now, most of you people that are listening to all the listeners here at the show will know already that Gary McKinnon was a hacker that hacked into their space force, into the Pentagon and into the Space Force. And this is, the Space Force has been around for years. It's been up and running for years. So I don't know why. Trump is obviously kind of part of the soft disclosure, maybe saying about the Space Force. And he's come out and said it. But we know that Gary McKinnon they tried to extradite him over to America and arrest him, lock him up. And lucky enough, they didn't get him. But he hacked into the computers and he's seen all the information that to do with Space Force. But it goes to show you, what they tell us now, they obviously had done years and years previous, and it's all part of the soft disclosure. So, anyway, let's bring our guest on now. Before we bring Danny in, Steve's going to read out Danny's bio, and he's going to tell us a bit of background information, who Danny is, and then we'll bring Danny in. Steve.
Okay, yes, Danny Searle. He was born and raised in Brisbane, Australia. Danny is a highly successful spiritual guidance counsellor with a background in spiritual psychology with over 25 years experience. Psychic since the age of 6, Danny has worked as a reader, meditation instructor and metaphysical teacher. He has run workshops on spiritual development and cleared homes of negative entities. In his early 20s, he underwent a series of out-of-body experiences that revealed the intricacies of the spirit world. In 1998, Danny was featured on the popular Australian Broadcasting Corporation programme, Australian Story, which led to additional television programmes including Today Tonight and A Current Affair. He had a 2-page spread in the largest distributed newspaper in Queensland, the Courier Mail, as well as articles about his work in the Redland Times. He is also featured in several radio interviews in Australia, the United States, England, Germany and the Netherlands. Danny has provided personal spiritual counselling and psychic readings for several high-profile celebrities, and in 2013 he qualified as a PSYCH-K practitioner, a discipline combining the sciences of psychology and kinesiology. Danny has 3 published books available on Amazon and produces Path to Ascension, a popular YouTube channel that boasts over 5.7 million views. Fantastic. Good evening, Danny. How are you?
Yes, good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Great. Thanks for coming on. As we said, it is silly o'clock over in Australia at the moment. We believe it's 1919. I looked at it.
Noticed that
1919. We're going to talk to you about that as well, Danny. We keep seeing these random these numbers like that, 1919 and 1111 and all that kind of stuff. But it is 20 past 4 in the morning, I believe, over your neck of the woods.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And the 1111 numbers are awakening.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get into that. Let's find out. We've read your bio out there, and you're a spiritual guidance counsellor. And I know you do the circuit and you do talks as well. And what we said, we're going to talk about the things that are kind of happening now, because everybody's experiencing different things, like this number sequence. Is there anything that you want to add on to your bio or tell us before we kind of get into things?
No, that's about all, but I did want to touch on a couple of things you mentioned during your talk about Trump's Space Force. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we put that on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So let's get cracking. The things that we're going to kick off with. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about it, about the shift, about ascension, about the new Earth, and these energies apparently hitting the planet. So, can you tell us what is your understanding and your take on what's happening at the moment with this kind of new Earth or this energy supposed to be hitting the planet and this kind of wave of light which is supposed to hit us and wake us all up or do various things to us? What have you heard or what have you come across?
Yeah, well, it really goes back right back to 1998, where I was contacted by Palladians. And they gave me a full basic rundown of the future, which we're in right now. And first thing you need to understand is that when people are making predictions about certain things happening on a date isn't the best thing to follow, which was pointed out to me because these predictions are coming from a place that doesn't understand time as we do, okay?
Yeah.
So what they gave to me was things to look for, omens. And I started talking about this a long time ago, and then suddenly, at the beginning of probably 2017, I saw something come on the news that made me go, oh my God, they told me this was going to happen, and I've been talking it was going to happen, and now it's happening. And that was the bleaching of the coral off the coast of Queensland, where I live in Australia. So you would have heard of the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, well, all of the coral there is being bleached. And they're putting it down to all different things, global warming or this or that. But this was told me 20 years ago that this was one of the signs to look for. And there's been a lot of other signs. And this is what I term as the shift. So we're in the shift now. And, there was a big to-do about 2012. If you go to my YouTube channel, I was the one saying it's not going to be the end of the world. Nothing's going to happen, as perceived in the physical realm, but certainly on the subtle levels. And what happened in 2012 was exactly what I said would happen. A consciousness shift would occur, okay? And that's what we're experiencing now. And so what you were touching on before, people are experiencing all these things. I literally talk to people all over the world every single day. I really do. And I'm hearing the same story over and over and over again, where people are walking out of 20-year career jobs. They're leaving very long-term relationships, marriages and things like this. And either their life is collapsing, they've lost all their money, they've lost everything they own, but they're not afraid, I can go on and on, but the point is everyone's experiencing the same thing. So is it mass delusion? No, it can't be. Is it all in their head? No, it can't be, right? Because individual people around the world are experiencing exactly the same things. And so then they contact me and say, what's going on? And it's simple. I say, well, it's because you are now in the shift. You are part of the shift. And what's the shift? The shift is basically the earth is a living, breathing organism with a consciousness. And don't try and think, oh, that's silly. The earth doesn't talk. The earth doesn't do this, doesn't do that. When I say consciousness, it's a different consciousness to what we understand, okay, if that makes sense. But it has a consciousness. It's aware of itself, right? It's a sentient being. And it is going through a spiritual process and this is what the ascension is all about. And ascension is moving from one state of being or one dimension into a higher dimension. And in this case, the earth is shifting as we speak, going into the fourth dimension on its way to the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension for now is our final destination, but we will go elsewhere way in the future, so I don't get into that. But for now, we're headed for the fifth dimension. Now, something, I don't know, it's a long story. I've got videos that you can look at on my YouTube channel about soul ages. And this is a lot of the information I got when I was in the spirit realm. For 2 years, I was taken back into the spirit realm. Won't get into all of it, but I can assure you there is somewhere you go when you die. This is not your home. The spirit world is your home. You are a tourist here. You're a visitor. You are here to experience different emotions, different interactions and things like that. Because in spirit, there's no negative energy, right? There's no negative thought. There's no negative energy whatsoever. It's just pure love, because that's where the source is, God, whatever you want to call it. It is pure love. So the only way you can experience the full level of creation and to appreciate love is to understand the dark side, I guess, the negative aspect of things. Because, as they say, you can't truly appreciate light without having dark. And that's what it's all about. So souls volunteer to come to Earth, incarnate, and they do through a series of lives, many, many lives, up to 600 lives on average. And so the more experiences a soul has, the more experience it has. And this is when I break it down into different soul ages. So soul ages doesn't refer to how long your soul's been coming to Earth. It really refers to how many experiences, like scouts, how many patches have you got on your arm, on your sleeve, for qualifying for different skill sets. And that's what soul ages are. So what we're experiencing at the moment with the shift really has got to do with what I term as mature souls and old souls. So how it goes is infant souls, they're all about learning about survival. Then we've got child souls who are learning all about right from wrong. Then we've got young souls that are all about pushing the limits to find the limit of power and greed. I guess they do it through greed and money. And then we've got the mature souls and the old souls. The mature souls are learning about emotions, and old souls are learning about detachment, detaching from the earth, because they're going to stop incarnating when they finish that cycle. So within each of those groups, there's 7 sub-cycles, okay? So what I mean by that is you might have a young soul level 4 or a young soul level 6. So to give you an idea, I'm sure you guys are aware of the Illuminati, New World Order.
Yeah.
Those guys are, okay. Well, those guys are typically a 7th level young soul. Young souls are the ones that build cities, that build armies, that have wars, that are corrupt, they're all about money and greed. But, don't look at it as a negative or a positive. It just is what it is. Like a beaver builds a dam. That's what these people are. They're learning about power, and they do it through money and greed and accumulating wealth, until they get to the point where they realize that, hang on, I'm still not satisfied. I'm still not getting anything from this. It's once they reach that consciousness, they stop incarnating in the young soul environment and they move into the mature soul phase. And I guess we don't have time to get into all that. But as I said, I've got YouTube videos about all this. But my point is, this shift really only refers to the mature and old souls. Every single mature and old soul was given a choice way back in really 2003. I know that sounds weird, but that's what happened. And you were asked, your consciousness was asked, do you want to ascend? Do you want to go into this new earth, this new place? Yes or no? Some of them said no, because the third dimension still has, lessons that I want to learn. It still has things that I want to experience. So they said, fine, you can stay. And the others said, yeah, I want to go. So all those that said that they want to go, they're the ones now that are going through these processes of detaching from the earth. And that's when we get back to what I started with, is they're walking away from careers. They're walking away from long-term relationships that didn't serve them. Anything that doesn't serve you from a spiritual point of view, right, will just fall away. And the thing is, there's a part of your consciousness that exists in the spirit plane all the time. We refer to that as your higher self. It's your higher self that has the blueprint for your life on earth, right? So you don't really need to go to a psychic or, a guru or something to find out what your life's purpose is or whatever. You just got to learn to meditate. Once you learn to meditate properly, you can tap into that higher self and you can download the blueprint for your life, literally. And the point is, your higher self knows the plan. It knows that you have chosen to ascend, but because you're in a human body, you've got an ego involved, which is part of the human part of you. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy for your security buttons to get pushed over, security and finances and love and all these things. And you're going through it kicking and screaming. and freaking out, but your higher self is doing it for your better good. And the way I sort of make the analogy, imagine if you had a child and you'd plan for 12 months to send them to the top swimming school in the world. And, you know, it costs you a lot of money, a lot of planning. Your child gets there. The first instant they jump in the pool, they start crying and bawling their eyes out saying, oh, mummy, daddy, it's too cold. I don't like it. Get me out of here. But because you're the parent, you know how much it means in the future. You can see that, look, in the long term, this is going to be good for you. You have to have a little bit of tough love. And you have to say, look, you're just going to have to stay in the pool. And then, you know, the moral of the story is they go on to become a Olympic athlete. You know, they're at the Olympics swimming for their country. But if you had given in at that early point and just felt sorry for them or given in and said, oh, look, okay, get out of the pool, they wouldn't have achieved what they set out to achieve. And it's exactly what your higher self is doing now. You might think, why is the world turning on me? Why is my world collapsed? Why is this happening to me? Understand, you're not being judged. You're not being punished, right? You are being guided onto the path that you chose. You chose to take this path, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get through to people. So part of what we're going through at the moment, and we're seeing it on a global scale, we're seeing it on a personal scale, is this shift I talk about. And obviously, when you're going through a transitional period, because this is not the end of the world, it's not the beginning of the world, it's a transitional period. We're moving from one state of consciousness to another. And as we do so, we're slipping in and out of the fourth dimension, to be honest. I could probably get to that later. But the point is, you're going to have a lot of chaos, you're going to have a lot of confusion, because everything that you have been trained, and yes, everyone in the world has been programmed and trained to live, act, and respond in a certain manner. So now all of that programming is being broken down. It's being torn away. And it's like you're standing there naked in the middle of a city going, oh, I've got to cover myself. You know, no, you don't. What you need to do is understand, don't fight it, surrender your will and go with the flow. That's really what I would say to people. Don't give in to fear.
Okay, so let's talk about the energy or the wave or the ascension on the new earth, because obviously if you're saying that this is for mature souls and souls who don't want to reincarnate, we are this period of time that we're in 2018. Just before we went live, we had a quick chat, and I was saying about the QHHT practitioners who have higher selves coming in and saying what's going on, and dates and times. You know, you, as you say, you don't stick to them, but you said we are now in the period that you had seen in 1998. So, what do you perceive to happen by the end of the year? Do you know, I mean, is this going to go on for the next 1,000 years? Is it one of them things? Or is something going to happen that is going to, push us forward?
Yeah, okay. First of all, with that QHHT thing, a lot of people came to me. I wasn't really that aware of it until I had all these people coming to me, absolutely devastated. They were told that, on the 23rd of April or something was going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And then something twigged in me. I thought, hang on, that rings a bell, because, I come across a lot of information every single day. And one of the things I came across a while ago was this character called David Meade. He's an American evangelical sort of Christian that's written books and, does talks and all this sort of thing. He's made 3 or 4 of these predictions for the end of the world. He started off like the Seventh-day Adventists, where they say it's going to be the end of the world and Jesus is coming. And then when that didn't happen, then he moved into the ascension sort of thing. And that's when he spiked my interest. And basically this guy is a disinformation agent. That's what he is, right? He's been exposed on several occasions, but people still buy into it. I feel, I'm not poking fingers at anyone, but I'm just thinking that a lot of these people through this QHTT thing, whatever it is, I think they may have come across his information, being influenced by it. I'm not saying that they're part of it at all. I'm not saying that at all. But, subconsciously, they were aware of this information, and then that's what they started talking about under hypnosis. Because hypnosis is not the most reliable thing in the world. I mean, my background's in psychology, and I've I've studied hypnosis. It works for some people. It doesn't work for other people. So, so I'm not saying all hypnosis is bad, because it's not. Some of it's really good. But, you just have to question things. And so when I heard this date, I did some basic Google searches. And, of course, this is the date that David Mead was giving out everywhere. And that's when I realised, that's what that was all about. So that's what I'm trying to say is don't focus on dates. A true spirit source or source from spirit is not going to give you a date. Because if I said to you, okay, I want you to go to the planet Venus and talk to one of the people on Venus, and if you said to them, hey, what are you doing this Wednesday at 10 o'clock? They're going to look at you like, what? What are you talking about? I don't understand what Wednesday is. I don't understand what 10 o'clock is, right? But if you said to them, okay, when you see this star at that particular point in the sky, that's when I want to meet with you. They'll know exactly what you're talking about, because that's a universal thing, okay? So, so what they told me was things to look for in society, in the environment, and celestial events. Now, this wave that you're talking about, I've got videos on that I made a long time ago about all this. It's basically coming from the great central sun, okay, of the galaxy. Because again, like I said, the Earth's got a consciousness. Every single planet and star that's alive, right, has a consciousness. So the great central sun is in the middle of our galaxy. It pumps out data. Think of it like a data transfer or information that comes out. It goes out to the different star systems, and they work like relay stations that then pass it on to the planets that are occupied. And what's another funny thing is 20 years ago I was saying that, there's thousands and thousands of not just third-dimensional planets, but occupied planets. And people would poke fun and la la la. Now NASA have said, we've now got 3,000 planets that we've found out there, and yes, it looks like at least 2% of them could harbour life. Okay, so don't discount everything you hear. That's the point.
Exactly.
Anyway, so there's going to be a wave coming from the great central sun. That's the final process of this ascension thing. And again, I've made a series of videos about this. So it contains a certain type of radiation called synchrotron radiation. Sorry, early in the morning. How that works, it's a light beam. And I've shown all the information that scientists have done, that DNA responds to light, okay? It directs itself into the position that the light's coming from. There's a thing called the phantom DNA effect. That's what that's all about. On each of your cells in your body, you've got little antennae, and they're designed to pick up environmental, things. So insulin's in the body. There's an antenna to pick up insulin that takes the insulin into the cell processes and does something else. Adrenaline, so there's an antenna for every single hormone or whatever it is that you've got in your body. Well, there's one special one there that's designed for this particular light beam that's coming, this synchrotron radiation. And the way that you need to basically get it activated, if you like, because at the moment it's laying down flat on all your cells. Not everyone, but most people, it's laying down flat. So through process of meditation, raising your vibration, okay, getting a higher consciousness, you begin to lift it up. It just automatically begins to lift up. And this is what I was talking about before too, which is 11, 11, 22, 22, 33, 33, 33, all the double numbers. They all represent sometimes it's literally a data dump. Other times it's just an awakening. Other times it's just letting you know, hello, we're here. Right? So every time you see that, just give a little nod. Just say, yeah, okay, I'm with it. I'm with the program, man. I'm doing it. So, because that's really what it's all about.
So define that program. So you're saying that the people who are actually seeing these times and stuff like that, is the nod to them to say, you're not so much, not to say you're on the list, but you're the people who are obviously, this is going to be for.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly. Well, yeah, I would go as far as to say you're in. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed, because if you were just to sit back and go, oh, well, I can just do nothing now and just wait for it to happen, guess what? You'll still be here when the rest of us go. Yeah. As simple as that. This is a very proactive thing. You're being asked to be proactive. You're being asked to make changes in your life. A lot of these changes are going to come, like something that I've even experienced in my own life is that I can't eat certain foods anymore. I just can't.
Yeah.
And it's not that I chose not to eat them. It's just one day I woke up and I couldn't eat them. I can't drink alcohol anymore. You know, I used to like a beer after work and things like that, but now I can't even look at it. And it's not because I'm on some moral high ground. It's not because I'm now a vegan or something. No, I'm not. It's just that my body can't tolerate it. And that's because my body is now resonating at a much higher frequency than it was, say, 10 years ago even 5 years ago.
Can I make a comment on that, on the food? Myself and Steve have talked about this, and I kind of have a theory about it, and the theory is because there are some foods, there's a lot of people out there having stomach issues, and issues with food. It's getting very common these days because our stomach is our second brain, as they say. And I just have a feeling that the food that is not agreeing with us or doesn't like has a lower vibration, a lower energy. And when we're eating kind of foods like fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, well, that obviously consciousness, so that energy is a higher level. So the food that doesn't agree, I mean, if we go to the curry shop or the chipper and stuff like that, and then the next day we're kind of, I shouldn't really eat that last night. It's because that's all processed. It's not like live food.
Yeah, that's more or less right. I mean, my latest book is called Ascension, a step-by-step guide, where I take you through every single part of this and then how to get involved, I guess. You know, I show you meditations and all that sort of stuff. But I spend a whole chapter on food. And you're absolutely correct, because part of the ascension process, if you wanted to ascend, I've got a process I've designed that what took 20 years, I've now got it down to 6 weeks. And I give you a step-by-step. And in that, I say, when you start, you'll basically have to be on a vegan diet. And I say, I'm not a vegan, right? I'm not pushing veganism, but I'm just saying, if you want to ascend, you essentially got to have a vegan diet because your body cannot tolerate meat and drugs and alcohol and even dairy products because they're too dense in their vibration. You know, if you don't want to ascend, knock yourself out. Go and have a pork sandwich every day. I don't care. But I'm just saying, if you want to ascend, you start off for the first couple of weeks just having green juices, basically juicing, right? Then eventually you go to just fruit juicing and then basically just clear water and then nothing, because once you raise your vibration to such a high level, you don't need any food or light because you're being sustained by what I call the divine light, right? The prana, other people call it.
So are you would you be one of these air people that will take the energy? No.
No, I actually debunked breatherism, that's called. Okay. I debunked that in the book because, you know, it was actually in my backyard almost. My neighbourhood, one of these ladies, she was a complete nutcase, to be honest, back in the 90s, that was pushing this breatherism or whatever they call it. And, you know, she nearly killed a whole bunch of people because they all starved themselves to death. You can't, no. What I'm saying is when you get on the 6-week program, if you follow it step by step, in the last 2 weeks, you'll only be, I guess, surviving, well, not just on breath, but on light, what I call light, because you have to transform your cells. You're going through a metamorphosis of your actual physical cells in your body, where they're transforming from a dense physical nature to what we call a light body. And it's at that point, that's when you activate the Merkaba. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And then once you've activated that, then it comes down to choice. Do you want to go into the fifth dimension or do you just want to stay on the earth at that level? But eventually, you know, you're going to have to make a choice.
So when does this...
Because you can't get...
When does this wave... I mean, I heard about the photon belt in 2005. Obviously, we're going into the area where the photon belt is, which you could be near enough the same thing, maybe. So, obviously, we're in 2018, and you're seeing the coral reefs and the damage that the environment is doing to the coral reefs. So, where are we at this moment in time in 2018? I mean, are you saying that, without giving dates and times, but are you saying that this year could be the year that something will happen, or could it be in another 10 years' time?
No, I've been talking quite regularly for the last 2 years, saying that the second part of 2018, we're going to see, I feel strongly that we're going to see a global event. And when I say a global event, I mean something that affects the globe. We have to understand we are all in this together. There's no different countries and different races. That's all nonsense, right? We are all human and we are all in this together. So it's an event that will affect all of humanity. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a negative thing or a positive thing. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what it's going to be. All I know is I'm very confident in the second part of 2018, there will be some event that's going to have an impact on all humanity, be it good or bad. But it won't be like people say, oh, a nuclear war. Well, no, because a nuclear war only affects certain countries. It doesn't really affect the whole world. This is going to affect the whole world. And that's what I wanted to get into this space program thing. One of the talks I've been giving regularly this year and the end of last year is about the information I got quite a long time ago about disclosure, the alien disclosure. When are they going to tell us about aliens? When are they going to come clean about UFOs and all this sort of stuff? And cut a long story short, basically there was a deal done with an alien group. Think of it like what I call the Galactic Federation. I mean, they don't call themselves that, but, think of it like that, like a council of elders, okay, made up of all different ETs. When humans started blowing up nuclear bombs on the Earth, what happens when you blow up a nuclear bomb? It actually impacts on the fourth dimension. And there's beings that live on the fourth dimension, right? So it was traumatizing their world. So that's when the ET Council stepped in and said, hey, what's going on? And they monitored it all. It was during the Cuban Missile Crisis with Kennedy and Khrushchev. And that's what stopped overnight, literally overnight, that missile crisis. We're at the verge of World War III. Then suddenly overnight, they're shaking hands and setting up hotlines between Moscow and Washington and turning the ships back and everything, right? Why? Because 3 of these aliens came to Earth, took Khrushchev, Kennedy and his brother to a location and basically told them everything and said, basically they offered them a deal. They said, look, if you guys don't have a nuclear war in the next 50 years, we'll let you into the club. You weren't supposed to come into the club for another couple of 100 years, but because you've got this far with nuclear weapons, you're a danger not just to yourself, but to others. We're willing to bring the date forward and get you into the club. But you can't have a nuclear war, right? So we haven't had a nuclear war, if you've noticed, but there's certain factions in the world that are doing everything they possibly can to start a nuclear war. Mm. The latest thing with Mr. Kim Jong-un in Korea, that guy had a look on his face like he saw a ghost or maybe he saw an alien, because one minute he's firing off missiles all over the place. Next thing, he's literally now saying he's going to disarm everything and American people can come in and check that he's disarming everything. He wants to do a deal with South Korea. He wants to do a deal with Trump. What would get that guy to do a complete backflip, within weeks? We're talking weeks here, that one minute he's firing off missiles, the next minute he's like, oh, okay, we're not going to do that anymore, right? What's happened? Then we get to this space program thing with Trump. Every president knows about this 50-year deal. They're given the brief about it. Trump dropped a sort of, a secret sort of line in his inauguration speech when he said, we're going to unlock the mysteries of the stars. Because one of the things that the ET said is when you get into their little club, they give us access to their technology, which is free energy devices, medical devices that can basically cure anything. They can show us how to clean up all the pollution on the earth. They can teach us how to redirect resources and food and grow food so there'll be no starving. And essentially you'll have no need for money and no need for oil. So the factions that are out there that control money, the bankers and the oil, are frantic at the moment. They know this is coming, so they're desperately trying to start a world war with nuclear weapons. So Korea fell over, so now they're going after Russia with this, false the Russians, poison gas some guy somewhere in England or something. That's all nonsense, right? They're desperately trying to start these nuclear wars all over the place. You factor that in as well. We had John Kerry down at the South Pole. They uncovered basically an old alien base down there, found an old ship that they managed to get into the air. That's why Buzz Aldrin was down there with that. They took him for a ride as a thank you for lying about the whole moon thing. I won't get into that.
Yeah, that's another story.
Oh, it is. But so anyway, so when's the 50-year date? Well, it's 2019. 2019 was the 50-year cutoff. And I've been talking about this for a long time. And now, like I said, all the pieces seem to be dropping into place. But one of the things I was told is, don't wake up on the 1st of January 2019 and look in the sky looking for aliens, because that's not going to happen, right? What they're going to do is start showing themselves en masse in formation, flyovers at night. And when that becomes blasé, then they'll do it at day. When that becomes blasé, they'll start landing. They got no intention of landing on the White House lawn, because they know that the powers that be, there's, factions within the government that would shoot at them or try and shut them down. And it's the people that they want to connect with. They're not interested in our politics. They're not interested in our celebrities or anything like that. They're interested in just common everyday humans. And what's interesting with that is too, when I talk about these people that are in the shift now, that are moving forward, that they're proactively engaged in the shift, they're meditating every day and things like that. They're the people that the ETs are going to tap and say, hey, we need ambassadors to come to these other planets that want to learn about humans. Would you like the job? Right? They're the people they're going to go for. They're not going to go after some career politician that's an expert in doublespeak and gobbledygook. No, they want people that talk from the heart and that just talk honestly.
Yeah. And
who are resonating in a high spiritual thing. So there's another good reason why you should be meditating and getting yourself sort of organised.
I just want to add, they're actually kind of doing it already, because if you know James Gilliland, James has been on the show, and if you go over to his ranch in Washington and Mount Adams, if you just go on YouTube and you see the footage, loads and loads of footage of crafts flying over and powering up, and they've had, Robbie Williams over there, Danny Dyer is an actor, military people saying that's not our stuff. And people are seeing more and more, so it's going to be a gradual thing. And part of the whole awakening, I suppose if you go and read the books, The Day the Earth Stood Still was the first movie that was actually funded by the military too, because they said they would use Hollywood to start this wake up process.
That's right.
So when people so when the consciousness level of the planet hits about 85%, and people go, oh yeah, UFOs, of course they are, there's ETs. Because we've already had disclosure. 33 governments have released, all the information. And if people are waiting on the lamestream media to come out and say, does ET? But we don't believe them anyway. They lie. So why would we trust the lamestream media? Right. We've already had disclosure. All the information's there. People just need to do the research and look at it.
Yeah, well, soon the mainstream media aren't going to be able to cover it up anymore, because it will become so obvious. I can tell you now, I get sent footage. There was an incident in Brazil just, I think, like 9 days ago, where in full broad daylight, 3 UFOs, shiny metallic objects, flew over a major city in Brazil, and everyone in the city just stopped what they were doing and were looking up, and they all saw it. Right? So that gets shown in Brazil and Russia and places like that. But in the Western world, they don't show you that information. But now, because of the internet, well, the genie's out of the bottle, see? So they can't hide it forever.
Yeah.
They'll try, but, they can't hide it forever. And it's coming. Yeah, well, like you said, it's already here.
So where does the new Earth fit into this?
Well, the new Earth, I got sidetracked. The new Earth, when the Earth ascends into the 5th dimension, see, you have to understand, dimensions aren't a place. It's a
the energy, it's a resonance, isn't it? It's frequency.
Exactly, it's a consciousness. Yeah, it's a frequency. Exactly, that's exactly what it is, right? So when the Earth moves into that, all things in form are natural items, mountains, trees, lakes, those sort of things. It still will have the same form that it had on the third dimension, but a much higher resonance. So no pollution, everything will be like a new Earth, a pristine, clean new Earth, right? That's what we refer to when we're talking about the new Earth. That's what it is. So it's like the old Earth. It's been all spit and polished, it's all shiny and new again.
And we were told, that the things that cannot, organic things are fine. Things are made of wood and stuff like that, but non-organic things will not be able to resonate at that frequency, so they'll just probably disappear. I don't know. Yeah, well, I've got a video about this, a very popular video actually, where it's called What Happens and Doesn't Happen When You Ascend. And so if you're experiencing ascension, like right now, what you would notice is everything starts to go, I guess, all wobbly and hazy. And the first thing is all non-organic things begin to disappear. I mean, to you, they look like they're disappearing, but they're not disappearing. You are the one disappearing, right? They're being left behind. And then, there's a final veil, like a blinding light, but it doesn't hurt your eyes, but it's just like a blinding light. And then once you pass through that blinding light, you're on the new Earth. You're there. And you're now in a light body, right? You're not in a physical body anymore. And this is what I was getting back to with that radiation thing before. Once that radiation gets into your cell, it triggers what scientists call junk DNA, which is 97% of your DNA. They call junk DNA. It's not junk DNA. It's divine DNA. So what this radiation or this light that you were talking about does, it triggers that divine DNA. And what it does, it takes you from having a double helix DNA into a 12-strand DNA. So you might have heard of 12-strand DNA. That's where it comes from. Because 12-strand DNA, think of it like a key. That's the key you need to unlock the door to get into the fifth dimension, right? You cannot get into the fifth dimension if you're carrying any negative baggage or any negative sort of thought forms at all. And as a, I guess, security code, a security screen, you have to activate 12-strand DNA, and you can't activate 12-strand DNA if you are carrying any negative vibration. You just can't. Right, so that's your key to get into the fifth dimension. So that's where it all ties in. The light comes. If you've been doing what you're meant to be doing, your DNA will be activated. Then you go into the new Earth. Essentially, that's how it works. Well, I'll be honest with you. I do feel, I mentioned on the show last week. I don't know whether I was dreaming or I think it was more astral than dreaming, because there is a difference. You can feel the difference. And yes. I felt a few weeks ago that the pure love that you feel on the fifth dimension, if what I felt was got to do with that being on the fifth dimension, it is unbelievable. Now, it's going to be very, very hard to achieve that on a 3D planet with everything. It would be very hard to achieve it, because that energy was so high. It was so high, because every day something happens and it could just, it's just on a different level completely. Yes, you can, if you live in a mountain and you drink and you're a vegan and nobody bothers you and you can meditate, you might have a chance of reaching that energy. But if you got a family and, you've got bills to pay and all that, and you're trying to do your best to eat right and all, no matter what you do, you still won't get up to that, because this was a very, very high energy. But this is why I think, we hear about this energy coming in, and you're saying about the veil and everything else. Maybe there will be this energy that will affect the whole planet and people will see it. Now, I don't want to keep away from the rapture thing, because that's just Bible Christian stuff. Where they want
nonsense. That was invented by John Derby, at the turn of the century. There's nothing in the Bible that references the rapture. It's all made up. The rapture's not going to happen. Yeah.
So we won't even go down that road. But so you're saying that obviously you feel that obviously by the second half of 2018 that something's going to happen. And somebody else, a guest that we had on last week, actually said the same thing. She said she feels it's around October time. But that's again just kind of guessing. And then obviously 2019, more and more people are seeing things in the sky, and more people are opening their mind and accepting things a lot more, especially with the likes of, as I say, if somebody said to me, oh yeah, no such thing as ETs, the first thing I'd say was, well, I'll tell you what you do. If I can get you to go somewhere where you can actually see them flying over, would that be good enough for you? And then I'd say, contact James and fly over there, because he has them flying all, ignorance is now a choice. There's so much evidence. Now, you have to be careful, and there's CGI out there, and you have to be careful, but there's just so much evidence out there of even 10% of what's saying. I mean, we only have to prove one. We don't have to prove all of them. We just have to prove one, and once one is proven, then that's it. The floodgates open, because you don't have to prove all of them. But I'll tell you what, Danny, we have questions coming in from our listeners, and I want to get cracking on them, so listeners can have their questions answered. Steve?
Yeah.
Yes. We do have a lot of questions, a lot of interest. The first question I had, that's here, is one of my own. When you say, Danny, like, okay, we're kind of given this choice to ascend, and you reckon it was given to us as far back as 2003. What if someone decided, yes, they want to ascend, but then they decided, no, I want to hang around here for a little while longer? Will they get a second chance at that, or is it a one-time only deal?
At the moment, first of all, it's the choice wasn't made. If you say, oh, what if I change my mind? Your consciousness didn't make the choice, because when we flip and flop around, that's your ego doing that. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So that would never happen. But yeah, this is a one-off deal. This happens every 26 million years, right?
Yeah.
But this is the first time a whole planet has ever ascended with the beings on it, with as in sentient beings on the planet that's ascended. Planets have ascended before, but not with life forms on it, right? That's the unique thing about this. So there's literally souls are lining up to incarnate down here. I mean, something I didn't get into either was the children that are being born out are so advanced. They are just so advanced. It's humbling what we're seeing, because they're going to lead this new world, this new earth.
Those children are from when are we talking? Like, is it from 2003?
No, from probably just the last 5 years.
Okay, that's quite interesting, because I have a little one myself who's was born within the last 5. Well, she was born exactly 5 years ago. So and we've noticed that she is kind of, she'd buy and sell you, as they say here.
She's very sharp, isn't she?
Oh, she's like a knife, like a razor blade. Anyway,
sounds like she's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. The fact that you're also saying that we're going to see more of these craft at night, and then we may see them during the day, and then obviously ETs may present themselves. With this 50-year deal, or that kind of went on, would it be possible, just kind of throwing it into the mix, would it be possible that maybe the ETs wanted to harvest us and use us for food, and we were told, no, don't eat them for 50 years, and maybe they're going to come down now and eat us?
Yeah, no, that's not the case. This group are benevolent. They proved that they're benevolent in the past. There are malevolent ones. Of course there are, the draconians, and the greys. The greys, in fact, were taken off the planet. They were kicked off the planet probably 5 or maybe 10 years ago now. It was quite a while ago. That's why greys aren't abducting humans anymore. And if people say they're being abducted by greys, they're making it up, or they're just delusional. I don't know. But there's no greys anymore. The greys were basically the slaves of the draconians. There's been a battle with the draconians from about 680 AD. That's a whole other story. I haven't got time to get into that. But they've been here for quite a while trying to take control of the planet. They are the ones that control the Illuminati. They are the ones that pretend to be Satan or the devil or whatever you want to call it. There is no Satan, there is no devil, there is no hell. I haven't got time to get into it, but trust me, read my books so I can prove it. But the point is, these people in the Illuminati, they believe it. They believe in it, right? So if they believe in it, you gotta pay attention to what they believe in. But who they're actually in contact with, when they think they're in contact with the Dark Lord, Lucifer or whatever, they're really in contact with one of these draconians, these reptilians, because they're fourth dimensional beings, right? But they've got the ability to move from the fourth dimension to third dimension at will. And, so that's who they're in contact with. So look, there's another thing called Project Bluebeam, which I do warn people about, that it's possible that they're going to try and stage a mass landing, but they're going to do it to scare the bejesus out of people, and have these, it'll look like aliens coming to Earth and trying to harvest us and do all that sort of stuff. But, if you're aware of this, you don't have to get suckered in by it.
Project Bluebeam.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that will be the cabal trying to pull a fast one. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, we were told before that if something like that ever did happen, and we were to see ships that where we were not to get on the ships.
No.
Basically, it's all got to do with. Yeah. No, I was just going to say. Basically, it's got to do with you have to. It's your acceptance, and it's your free will. So if you choose to go on the ship, then that's your choice. So, and there's some universal law out there that says about consent. And it's all about consent. And what you have to say is, Chris Thomas said to us, he said, really they don't need ships. If you think about it, they shouldn't need ships.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's spot on. That's exactly right. It's all free will. But I was just going to say, the one thing with the real disclosure, when they really do start landing, you are not going to see, in all the Hollywood movies, when the bad aliens come and they're taking over the world, they're all the same species. They all look the same. You're not going to see that with the real disclosure, because they're part of a group, a council that represent all different planets. So on every single ship, you're going to see at least 3 different species, you know what I mean, of aliens. They're not all going to look the same. So if they all look the same, run the other way. If they don't all look the same, embrace them as your brothers and sisters, because that's what they are.
But also be careful, because if they could shapeshift, they could actually fool you into thinking they are something else they're not.
Yeah, they can't directly, again, that's sort of getting into the whole free will sort of thing. They can't. Look, I've seen beings of light come before me just glowing like angels, but I don't feel anything, right? I don't feel any love radiating from them or anything. I just feel nothing but cold. So I just ask them a simple question: are you of the light? And they will then try and give me this runaround answer. They'll avoid answering it. They'll say stuff like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Look at me. I'm radiating. How do you think I got here?" They will never just come straight out and say no. And they'll never say yes, because they're not allowed to lie when you ask them a direct question. So my point is, if they're shape-shifting or whatever, if you've been meditating, if you've got, your aura happening, you will feel them. You'll sense whether they're good or bad. You will. And if you sense nothing, I can guarantee you they're not good. If you sense overwhelming love, they can't fake that. See, draconians don't have auras like we understand, right? In your aura, it's made up of 7 layers, and you've got the emotional and all that, right?
Yeah.
That's something they envy from us. They actually suck that out of humans. So they encourage people to be drug addicts and alcoholics and things because they're in a weakened state. They can then attach to you, suck that life force out of you. You're emotional. They get off on negative emotion. It's like a drug to them.
It's looshing the energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So when you come across them, it doesn't matter if they shapeshift. You will be able to sense it, right? You'll feel it. I know that sounds a bit airy-fairy, but trust me when it happens.
I mean, that's why people say feel the love. Well, feel the love.
Yeah, exactly. And you do. And I wanted to say something before. What you said was interesting about how you said you experienced that blissfulness, that love. When I was 14 years old is when I had my first involuntary out-of-body experience. And I was taken to what I now understand to be just the astral plane, right? Sort of the first level of the 4th dimension, very low, really. At the time, I thought, have I died and gone to heaven? Or, I don't know. I was only 14. But I experienced that immense emotional love and peace. And when I came back into my bed, I went into a state of shock, like almost, and started crying because I thought, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be back on this earth. I could immediately feel the heaviness.
Did you felt the energy and you said, I want that.
Yes.
That's what, that's what I thought. Yeah, when I kind of felt that, I thought, man, I don't want to be here. That's exactly what I want.
Yeah. So I know what you're talking about. And what I wanted to say, but I was going to just the first level above the earth, and I felt it there. So you can only imagine what the fifth dimension would be like, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll get on. We have more questions for you there. We want to get through them there, Steve.
Yes, Peter wants to know. Question for Danny on Earth. He says, on Earth, it's lights, camera, action. If you want to make a movie, how is the recording of our lives made that goes into the Hall of Records? And is this recording still being made when we pass over to the other side?
Yes, the Akashic Records. Yes, it is. It is. Because it's all still part of the system, right? You're still in the system. And, you know, once you learn astral projection and things like that, you can go into the Akashic Records and go back through all your previous lives. You can fast forward, pause, fast forward, even this life. You can do that to a certain degree, but nothing's pre-scripted, right? So when you want to see into your future, you can really only see about 6 weeks into the future, maybe 6 months, you know, for certain things. Because it's not pre-scripted because of that free will thing. See, we've got the choice. We can change our mind and we can change. But yes, everything is recorded and kept in the Akashic Records. And then yes, it's still going on and it will continue to go on in the fifth dimension because it records all life at every level of creation.
If all this recording is going on, you know, you'd kind of be... think that we might be a simulation in a computer program somewhere.
We are. The third dimension is essentially a hologram, and it was created for us to incarnate. Souls just can't go on the third dimension. They need a vehicle or like an avatar, you know, to walk around and interact with, and that's what this was set up deliberately set up with time and, you know, all the physics that we understand. And yeah, this solar system, galaxy, whatever you want to call it, it's a hologram. It's literally a hologram.
So when you say we're here and it's not a true home, well, that's why, because our soul has gone into this meat suit to experience what we have to experience, right. And then we leave the meat suit and we go back home.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's the only way you can interact on the third dimension. You have to be in a body of some description that's of the third dimension. In my first book, I explain all this, how the soul has to integrate with the human body, you know, during the pregnancy or, you know, during that period of when a woman's pregnant, a soul has to integrate. It doesn't just jump in one day and, hey, I'm here. And it wasn't just already in there. It has to integrate with it, and it does it through a very intricate way through the chakra system and the aura and everything. It has to integrate with the brain and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Steve, you got more questions there?
We do indeed. Graham wants to know, does Danny feel that the pineal gland has been deliberately targeted by toxins like aluminium and fluoride to block the synchrotronic beam in an attempt to minimise its effect? He's wondering, would that be is that being done by the so-called elites?
Absolutely. I've made videos about that. Absolutely. I mean, the pineal gland is calcified in most people by the age of 12 and can be directly related to fluoride. Fluoride is rat poison. You look in rat poison, that's where fluoride is the main ingredient of rat poison, okay? We all know the Nazis invented it and everything like that. I can't believe people are still using it, but yes, it is designed. Your pineal gland is literally your Wi-Fi connector to the universe, right? So you know how on your smartphone you can download the internet when you're out and about at the shops and things like that? That's what your pineal gland does, but it does it to universal. We're talking before about Akashic Records and things like that. That's what you can access when you've got an activated pineal gland. The ancients knew about this, right? And that's why it was targeted and shut down. Yes, absolutely true. I've got videos on my channel how to reactivate your pineal gland. And, you know, how to shake it free, basically. So people can look at that.
I would assume that the introduction of Wi-Fi and 5G and everything else is all part of the master plan to, again, affect us. Obviously population reduction, people are getting tumours and cancers and everything else, but also it creates a mesh system which could affect their pineal gland and their frequency in itself.
5G is literally like having a microwave oven on every post outside every house. So not only is it going to irradiate your brain, it works like a grid, a net. You know what I mean? So it creates a grid that's a net, and they're literally trying to, they think they're going to be able to capture souls with it. That's one of the things they think they're going to do. It's got other uses as well, because when, this ascension takes place, they think it's the soul's going to pop out of the body and they're going to catch it. But that's not how it works at all. That's what I was trying to say before. You'll just disappear. But anyway, 5G is just the most insidious thing I could ever think of. Like, you talk about Dr. Evil, that's Dr. Evil stuff. It's really bad.
But when you say we'll just disappear, that's assuming we're on the vegan diet.
No, well, yes and no. No, sorry, I probably confused you. I was saying before, if you've had enough and you just want to go now, here's how you do it. Get on the diet, blah, 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 meditate every day, and I give you that in the book.
Okay.
If you're just going about your everyday life, you're willing to wait for the natural occurrence, it all comes down to intent. Yeah. And what you said before was a very good point that I make myself, is, not everyone can go and meditate on a hill all day. You just can't do that in practical life.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't have to. What is important is intent. That is so critical. What is your intent? Are you a genuinely good person? Are you balanced in your life? Do you live in moderation? They're the things you need to be doing to allow this to naturally unfold. If you want to get to the next level, I guess, that's what I'm talking about. That's when you need to start meditating. If you're true about getting your life in balance and moderation, you need to meditate. You really do need to do that. But if you're doing those things, you can still live a normal life like everybody else.
Okay, but what about the moving into? So when you say the natural, are you talking about when this ascension that happens eventually?
When the wave comes.
When the wave comes in, that would be the natural progression. But if people said today, I want to move in next week, they want to, okay. So that's basically it. Okay, that's pure dedication. That's fair play if people want to do that.
Yeah.
But it will naturally take place. It just means some people, if they want to get there sooner, this is what you do. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That clarifies that. No, that's fine. Right, Steve, you got more questions there?
Yeah, so you can keep enjoying your meat. Don't stop worrying about the meat, Alan.
No, but I have cut down. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Just naturally, I've just kind of cut down on certain things that I'd normally eat. I don't kind of eat anymore, and or very rarely eat. So of course, me and you don't drink, don't smoke, don't have sex. Oh no, that's something. That's something totally different. That's being a priest. Oh no, that's wrong. They have sex as well. All right, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Just want to mention very quickly in relation to the fluoride. You can't believe that people are still using fluoride. Nor can we. And there's actually been a lot of publicity and a lot of protesting in Ireland in relation to the whole fluoride thing. But the Irish government sanctioned a recent study on the effects of fluoride, and I am very happy to report that there is no adverse effects in relation to fluoride on your pineal gland or on any part of your body. Not. It doesn't cause dental fluorosis. It doesn't cause osteoporosis. So there's no need to worry. The Irish government said so.
Yes. There you go.
There we go.
Take that to the bank.
Ask them, why is it the only medication that's mass medicated, and it doesn't matter how old you are, you all receive the same medication? Because everyone knows you don't give babies full, aspirin or whatever you have, painkillers. You would never give a child of 3 years old a adult serving of painkiller or aspirin, would you? You wouldn't. They have special baby aspirin, don't they, which is a watered down version. Yet fluoride is given to everyone at the same rate, no matter what age you are, no matter how big you are, because we all know that a man could, accept a bigger amount of medication than what a small woman would, for example, right? So doctors factor these things in all the time when they're prescribing medications to people, but for some magical reason, fluoride, it doesn't come under that. Fluoride can just be given to everyone at the same rate. That's what I would ask your government to please explain that.
Well, first of all, we have to ask them where is their license to medicate the population in the first place? Because
they'll tell you, well, you gave us the mandate when you voted us in. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, no, they'd say that all the time. Right, more questions for you there.
Yeah, Peter wants to know on kinesiology, can I use the muscle testing to test info I write on a piece of paper or policies or news articles, etc.?
My own experience with that is I don't trust myself testing myself. Only because, look, as much as I don't think I influence myself, there's probably some part of your subconscious that does. You know what I mean? Give it a go, see how it works. But I'm just saying, in my own experience, I don't trust myself to do it on myself. Right? That's my answer.
Okay, that's fair enough. And Sam had a comment on People's Internet Radio. He says, hasn't the higher self already made the decision? This is obviously in relation to the ascension. Hasn't the higher self already made the decision for you? And it'll be the right decision. So there's no need to worry about anything, anyway, or when. All you have to do is acknowledge the existence of said higher self. Well, we can't disagree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I would say, but I've made the choice. Let's say he made the choice to go and visit the South Pole. If he didn't make any provisions before he went and didn't bring the correct equipment, how long would he survive on the South Pole? Let's say he went in his board shorts and a singlet.
Yeah.
Not very long, though.
Yeah.
Well, serious. Yeah. Well, I know that we've made the choice to ascend, but you still have to do the effort, right? You still have to. Remember that intent thing I was talking about? It comes back to intent. If you just decide, I'm just going to sit around and wait for it to happen, well, it's not going to happen. You know?
No,
simple as that.
Intent is everything. I've said that before from a spiritual point of view. I am a big believer in karma, even from a scientific point of view, because it's all energy. And it's cause and effect. If you put the energy out there, negative energy, it's going to come back because it's cause and effect. And positive energy is the same thing. But it's like if you go up to somebody on the street and insult them, then they're not going to look favourable on you, and you might end up getting a dig or something. But if you went up and complimented somebody, you see the difference. And I mean, it can be that basic to understand the difference with positive and negative energy. And when you start doing the positive energy and you start helping each other and helping people, that does come back around in a positive way. So intent is everything. And we've heard this, it's been said before, and I've read about it, that if you're over 50% service to others, then you're on the right track and your intent is on the right track. So if the energy comes in, well, possibly you could be one of the people that could be moving over. But if you're under 50% and you've got the ego and you're selfish and you're only thinking of yourself, well, then, you have a lot to learn. You'll probably stay in the 3D world.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And remember, like attracts like. That's what I say all the time. So if you meditate for 20 minutes every day, suddenly your energy gets more refined. You get a bigger aura. And suddenly you start to attract other people around you that have the same energy as you do, right? So it's a simple thing. And
plus the fact that a lot of people have noticed this when they woke up to what's going on, because when we do our talk, we talk about being in the matrix, being aware of what's going on around you, and then you become self-aware, hopefully, of who you are as a spiritual being and energy. And what people have noticed, and they've said to us, is that as soon as I woke up, my friends and family, I've lost touch with them, or I don't speak to them, I've fallen out with them, because I'm just operating on a different frequency completely, altogether from them. And nothing in common anymore, and as you said earlier, relationships as well breaking up.
Yeah. No, I hear that every day. People tell me that every day. Ever since, I woke up. Now my sister doesn't talk to me. My parents don't talk to me. And it's because you're vibrating a different frequency. And like I said, like attracts like. So if you're no longer resonating with the frequency of your family, you're going to drift away from them. But it's not like you're going to want to drift away from them.
It's just a natural
and feel
thing.
bitter about it. Exactly. It's just a natural thing. And you won't miss them.
Yeah.
But you'll also still love them. You'll still love them. And if they were to visit you tomorrow, it'd feel like you just saw them yesterday, even if it's 10 years later. you don't have to stress about those sort of things.
Well, this is one of the things we talk about moving from the child mind, which is ego and ignorance, into the adult mind, which is humility and wisdom. And your humility and wisdom in the adult mind is kind of accepting of, because the ego is not involved. So you kind of say, okay, they're on their path of learning, and we will agree to disagree, and we can see where they're going, because I was there at one time, but now we've moved on, and they have to find their own path. And so there's this kind of understanding, and it's not the adult mind trying to prove anything, because you don't want to prove anything. You just accept that that's where they're at, and you understand where they're at. And I think this is the whole thing. This is what we try and educate and talk about, and maybe that belief might change down the road, but for the time being, I think, Steve, we're happy with that analogy, with all the research and what we've studied, because we've been involved in this since 2001. But the radio show has been going, near enough, coming up to 8 years now. And we've learned a lot. We've made a lot of mistakes, and we've interviewed over 400 interviews with different people. And over time, we've picked up on things. And people like yourself coming on, educating us, telling us what you've found with your research. And we take the little nuggets of information and we kind of throw them around and analyse them and talk about it. But there's a lot definitely going on a global scale. And I'm glad you pointed out the whole North Korean thing, because fear, there's only fear and love. And love is a higher frequency. And we have to stop. We always say, look, this kind of, when people go, oh, it's fear porn. Look, if your perception of something is fear, well, then that's the vibration you're working on, because that's what you fear. But what we see it as, we just treat it as information. It's not negative or positive. It's just information. So we don't deal with the fear thing, because if you look at fear as a frequency, it's low compared to the love frequency. And love is more kind of slow and nice, where fear is kind of erratic and faster, And this is what we're saying to people, and we have to accept, you have to find your own confidence. And when you do wake up, even if 10 people are all saying one thing and you're saying something different, stand in your own belief and your own truth and your own confidence, and just accept the fact that, look, this is where I am at now. Love me or hate me, that's the way it is.
Yeah. No, I agree. One of the things I do too, when I get something wrong, someone points out to me that I was wrong about something and they can show me the evidence, I thank them. I literally thank them.
Totally.
Because you've shown me a truth now that I didn't know about. I don't get offended by it. I don't get upset by it. I literally thank them, because I'm all about learning, just like everyone else is. I want to know the truth, and so I dig and dig and dig, and sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong.
This is it, and this is why we said to you, we had mentioned about what we call the fluid belief system. What we know today might change tomorrow, because new information might come in to contradict what we know today. But what we know today is what we know today. Tomorrow might be different. And when your belief system is fluid, and we always quote the Aristotle, the mark of an educated mind is to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. And it's not about whether it's true or not true. We should be able to entertain something, because if you challenge somebody's belief and they shut down straight away, well, then they have a closed mind. And if you can't challenge your belief system, then you won't learn, you won't grow, you won't become wiser, because you're stopping yourself from learning because you're stuck in a belief. And this is what we talk about.
No, so do I. I say as soon as you have a belief in something, you've just stopped learning about that topic. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
So you have to be fluid. So what else can you help us to understand regarding what's coming down the line? So you feel that there is going to be not so much disclosure, but it's going to happen. Because you hear, I don't know whether you've heard this, but a lot of people are saying in certain circles that, well, actually, because this is quite unique for the planet and what's going to happen, they're up there already watching and waiting to see, because they're interested, because it's never happened before. And maybe this is all part of what's going to happen. They're going to come down. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I've heard the same things. I've heard there's up to like 72 different alien species interacting with the planet right now, because they all want front row seats for what's coming. Yeah. So, I'm hearing the same thing. That's been going on for quite some time. Well, I sort of touched on it before. This is a unique experience. This is like rare as rocking horse teeth. Okay.
Is there any
It's just, yeah.
what about the weather conditions and the weather patterns we're experiencing? I mean, I know the Earth.
That's all got to do. Yeah, I didn't want to get into all this, and the same with the coral bleaching. But I'll mention it. That's all got to do with Nibiru, the planet Nibiru. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
This massive thing that's right. It's out there. It's definitely out there. What's holding it back, basically, is human consciousness at the moment, and it's exactly what you were touching on before. If you buy into the fear and you live in a fear vibration, that is what you will experience, a fear outcome. And if you vibrate in the love vibration, you won't experience any negative thing. So Nibiru is out there. It's literally being buffeted. Think of it like a massive gravity force that's pushing it back from coming close into the planet. If we were to suddenly go into a world war, if someone initiated a world war and everyone bought into it and all that sort of stuff, I can tell you now, Nibiru is going to come in and nearly wipe us out. It won't destroy the planet, but it'll flip it, do a pole shift. It'd be pretty devastating. It's done it in the past. But we're really, really, really holding on, hoping that this time that's not going to happen. And, it's part of the Trump thing as well, that why he was brought in. Well, not he was brought in, but he was the best man for the job, I guess. I'm not saying I love Trump. I'm just saying he's the only one that could do it to change the course that we were set on. I mean, if Hillary Clinton had got in, we would have been probably not here right now, I think. But anyway.
Here's the thing about figureheads. It doesn't matter who they are, it's what they do. Now,
it's what they do.
Yeah, they're puppets. Now, it doesn't matter if Trump comes in, if Hillary got in and she started helping humanity, I wouldn't care. But we know,
exactly.
we know that she wouldn't do it. Now, we heard, obviously we have a great guest, Thomas from the Truth, Honour and Integrity show, and Thomas has great intel, and he was saying that they actually have put these rods in the planet, around the planet, to slow the pole shift down, so it's nice and slow. We won't get this swashing of the seas and the flooding that they're all predicting. That's all the fear porn that they're putting out there, that these rods were put in the planet, and the pole shift the planet is shifting because we are out of balance by 23 degrees, and we have to go back to zero balance. And when we go back to zero, apparently we're going to have a temperate climate around the planet. So it won't be too cold, it won't be too warm, it'll be just nice. And it was like that. The planet was at 0 degrees until there was the Atlantean War with the advanced tech that they had, and they shifted the planet off the axis. That has to go back. So all this kind of, what we heard anyway, is that all this kind of fear-mongering of, the sea levels going up and everything else, that's all stopped because the rods have been put in, because the ETs they know what's going on. So the rods have been put on the planet to slow down the actual, the pole shift. So it's a gradual thing now. And so that's not going to happen. Now that's what we were told.
Well, look, I'm not saying it is or isn't going to happen. What I'm saying is, well, at this stage, I'm hoping it's not going to happen. I feel it's not going to happen. But like you were saying before, humans can change their mind at the drop of a hat, Just one event can happen and suddenly everyone's changes their mind. Luckily, more and more people are waking up now. So when they're doing these false flags and all this sort of stuff, people are awake now enough to not buy into it. And that's what's protecting us at the moment. And this is why Spirit don't come straight out and say, yep, there's going to be a pole shift in November, for example. They didn't say that, by the way. I'm just,
Yeah. Hypothetically speaking,
hypothetically speaking, right? But they don't say that because they say that as well. They say, well, humans got free will, and they can't predict it. No one can predict it because they can't predict human nature.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the old saying: you get 20 eyewitnesses, you're going to get 20 different versions of what they saw. It's
exactly. And actually, the police will tell you an eyewitness is the worst kind of witness. Because
yes, they are.
You get people who embellish stories and everything else.
Yeah.
So, and the police don't like eyewitnesses. Now, tell us about what your plans are for the future. What have you got on? And is there any other information from an Australian point of view because you were down there. So what's happening down there? Because I know your Prime Minister and his wife, she's a pharmaceutical head, and they're trying to bring in forced vaccinations in Australia.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. I didn't realise you guys knew about that. But yes, that's absolutely true. You talk about conflict of interest. Well, there it is, hardcore. This is also the same Prime Minister that was a merchant banker for 20 years. He resisted having a royal commission into banking scandals. He resisted that for like 4 years. They finally pushed it through. They're now having a royal commission. That's like a Senate inquiry if you're in America. It's a big deal. And now, just in the first 2 weeks, they have uncovered so much corruption. And this is something I was talking about 2 or 3 years ago, where I was saying anyone that's operating in the dark, in the shadows, is going to be exposed. That's why we're seeing all these pedophiles exposed, all that's going on. This is all part of the shift. So now we're finding out these banks are just, all the head bankers are being sacked and stood down, and massive backlash from the public, and that's all going on at the moment. But when you're saying too, I think it's unfair to say that Ireland's the most corrupt country in the world. I mean, just go to Guatemala or Mexico or something, because Ireland's small fry compared to the real corrupt governments. But every government in the world is corrupt. Everyone.
Well, I think
all of them are.
Yeah, it's all relative to where you are, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
But we've it's just the state of the country at the moment, but the good thing is that things are changing. We know there's things changing, and we've been told it firsthand. Good intel again. I don't know whether you know Thomas, but Thomas has good intel there. Thomas from the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. Be worthwhile you having a chat with him, actually. But so hopefully, we are seeing a lot of people waking up, and we are seeing people, when they see a false flag, they know straight away, within a few minutes, if not within the hour, they go, oh yeah, false flag, and all the issues are pointed out, because there are there are factions out there fighting against each other. We've heard about the banking system and the corruption in the banking system. Deutsche Bank, apparently the staff have come out and said, we can't see Deutsche Bank lasting very much longer. I don't know whether you know that. And Deutsche Bank is a massive bank.
I know, that's been in since since 2000, the 2007 big
crash, we know it well,
crash. Yeah, well, Deutsche Bank got basically bailed out by the American taxpayer for the tune of a couple of $1 trillion. And even that's because they were hemorrhaging back then, and they still haven't been able to plug all the holes. You had, in 2016, I think it was, 6 or 7 of these Deutsche Bank top executives all killing themselves, throwing themselves out of buildings and slitting their wrists in the bathtub. So we knew a long time ago that Deutsche Bank was in big trouble. The other one at the moment is HSBC, actually. That's the one I was a bit surprised about, because I hadn't heard any rumblings about them, and now suddenly that's coming out that HSBC are in big trouble.
We got affected by the big crash over here in 2008. Yeah. And it's beginning to happen again. The boom, people are queuing up to try and buy houses, and they're just going to pull the plug again. But there are, but we do know, there are positive changes taking place. There are people who have been tapped on the shoulder and told, if you don't step down, we're going to expose you. So what we are seeing is a lot of people resigning from jobs, or people being taken out if they don't do what they're told. But it's going to take time. It will take time, because they took a very long time to put this structure in place, the Illuminati, the New World Order. It took them hundreds of years to put this in place. So it's not going to fall overnight. It's going to take probably about, over a 40-year period, we were told, because there's 429 things that have to be changed, and the financial system is just one of them. So
look, I say the same thing. People say to me all the time, oh, when's Trump going to arrest Hillary, and when is he going to round up all these criminals, and when is he going to do this? And I think, the guy's only been in for 12 months. And I say to them, have you ever heard of the Industrial Revolution? And they go, oh yeah, vaguely, yeah. Okay, the Industrial Revolution changed the way we live, changed the whole world, created a middle class, right? All these things. It was revolutionary. It was massive. It did not happen in a year. It did not happen in a decade. It happened over a period of around 100 years, you could say, right, where it slowly started to gain momentum, reached its peak, and then we had World War I, the first industrial war, and then the world changed again. One thing I know a lot about is history, right? And this is what I'm trying to say to people. You don't expect everything to happen in 1 year or 2 years. See, it's because technology has trained people now to have this expectation of instant gratification. That's what it's all about. You know, everyone wants everything to happen now. And I'm just asking people to be patient. Just be patient. I mean, you know, 10 years ago, you didn't even know about all this corruption stuff. I know that because I was yelling from the rooftops and people didn't want to hear about it. Now all of a sudden they're waking up to it, which is great. So that in itself is stage one, just waking people up. Okay, so now stage two, be patient. It's going to take a little while, but we'll get there eventually. We will.
Yeah. And it could be, you know, I know people will probably say 40 years, my God, that's a long time. But to be honest with you, you know, nobody ever said that it's going to be happening overnight. But even in 10 years from now, in 10 years' time, the world could be different in 10 years' time.
Could be different in 2 years' time. What if the aliens come in 2019 like they said they will? Look, I can't guarantee they're going to come. I hope they're going to come. But let's say they come. Like I was saying earlier, that's the end of your petrochemical world, end of the money. You know, most religions will go out the window. So all the control systems that are in place will all collapse and crumble overnight,
and
really.
That's the kind of thing we want to happen in a positive way. If they happen to appear in the sky all over the world, game's over. That's it. Game over.
That's right. Yeah. But they won't do that unless people are willing. You know, it comes down to that free will thing. They're not just going to shove themselves in front of us. If you understand what I mean.
No.
They've got to wait for consciousness to change. And that's what the disclosure program, which you're talking about before, through the media and Hollywood, they've been getting us ready for this.
Do you think there's going to be, with the ET side, you know the old joke about, you know, if chaos breaks out or you see something in the sky, make your way to the local conspiracy theorist and he'll tell you what's going on. Could it be a possibility that maybe the ETs would use the local conspiracy theorists, for want of a better word, to actually be the person to be the kind of ambassador to break the ice?
No, because, you know, your local conspiracy theorists, half of them are disinformation operatives for MI6 and
actually
and CIA.
75% of the alt media is disinfo.
Yeah. No, what I was saying before, they're going to come to the people that live and speak in truth, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, of course.
They're the guys that have been meditating, that have been living in balance, living in truth, and resonating at a high frequency. It doesn't matter if they're conspiracy theorists or if they're, you know, a local nun. Whoever they are, they'll understand what you're resonating at. You just reminded me, there is it was a 3-part TV series called Children's End, it's called. I don't really want to give it away in case people want to see it, but if you want to understand the whole disclosure thing from a really interesting point of view, I highly recommend watching that, because I'll tell you now, it's called Children's End. Children's End. It's a 3-part mini-series. Came out a few years ago, but someone just recently told me about it. I managed to grab a copy of it and I watched it and I was spellbound, and it covers every conspiracy, everything from all aliens are demons to all aliens are our saviors to everything, end of the world, you name it. It's all in there, and the ending is just, I applauded it. It was just brilliantly done. Whoever made that particular movie really did their homework. You know, they really, really understood how things are.
Brilliant. Well, that's great. Cheers for the tip. We'll definitely have a look at that. So what's Danny Searle planning to do now for the rest of the year? What do you have planned, Danny?
I am actually fighting the Australian Taxation Office because about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, it started just before the end of Christmas. They've been trying to shut me down. It's because of my second book. My second book is really exposing the Illuminati. It's called Secrets of the Illuminati. I name names. They finally tracked me down, I guess. So they've tried to shut me down financially. So they have literally deleted my Australian business number. So you can't operate in Australia without an Australian business number. Not legally, you can't. They've shut that down. They've taken my business name and they've deleted that off the register. So they've taken away, I guess, my means to, make an income, my means to make a living in this country. And I know that I've been targeted deliberately. It's a long story, but that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm trying to fight that and sort something out. But, it's all because they're targeting people now.
Yeah. And
it's really got to, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, we're near enough to time there for the interview, but I was going to say, I have 2 more questions to fit in as well, because we're going to be tight. I was going to say, you're right, they are ramping up the attacks on alt media and people like yourselves, because they know what's coming down the line, and to be honest with you, it's foolish, because they're wasting the time, really. I mean, it's inevitable what's going to happen energy-wise, so they're, it's like, the game of chess has been won, but they're still moving the pieces, thinking that they're in the game, and it's checkmate, But we want to get these questions over to you before we finish up, because we have to finish up now. Steve, you've got 2 questions.
Yeah, 2 quick questions. One from Moon Girl on PIR. She says, what does Danny make of QAnon?
Oh, I don't want to offend anyone, but QAnon is a distraction, basically.
Okay.
Look, they're sort of well-meaning Uber nerds or geeks. Think of it like that. That used to play Dungeons and Dragons, so they like playing these little games. Yes, they're part of military intel, but the way that they're using all these cryptic messages and everything, if they were the real deal, they would just come out and tell us. They keep repeating themselves over and over. Nothing they say really comes to pass. So I just see it now as a distraction.
Yeah. Okay, and the last question, very quickly.
The last question is from Deep Sea Diver, and Deep Sea Diver is wondering, can you ask Danny, is 5G a form of plasma radiation?
No, it's not. It's part of the gigahertz range of radiation. But then again, I don't have the blueprints for it, so who knows? It could be anything. But what I have seen at the moment that they're telling us, it's just part of the same thing, the body scanners at the airports, those gigahertz things, which basically unzip your DNA. That's what they do. Well, that's what this 5G thing will do as well. It'll damage your DNA.
We did, for anybody who wants to know more about it, we did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Mark Steele, who's an industry insider, who knows all about 5G. So you can check out that interview with Mark. He'll be able to educate you. Danny, we've reached that time. A big thank you for coming on the show. Much appreciated. Thanks for getting up at silly o'clock. Much appreciated. Great information. I think there's definitely a part 2 on the bag that we'll have to do in a few months' time, and maybe at the end of the year, and review the year and see how we get on. I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your contact information where we can find you. Steve.
Yeah, I want to say
thank you.
Yeah, thanks as well, Danny. It's been great information, a lot of fantastic information, and a lot of people commenting on the chat rooms there as well. So fair play for that. Yeah, we do have a link to your website, which we are going to pop up there on the chat rooms as well, DannySearle.com. And I was on your website there earlier on during the show, and you've got a lot of information on there. You have the download section with great information. You have the video section and all your contacts. Is that the only means of where people can would that be the best way people can get in touch with you or find out about you? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the best way. But also, if they're interested in my videos, I've got over, I think, 110 or 114 videos maybe, which they can watch at any time. That's at Path to Ascension. So if you go to Path to Ascension on YouTube, you'll find my YouTube channel, and
brilliant stuff. All right, Danny, just stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, we're back. Great information from Danny. We just wish him good luck there during the break there with his fight with the government over there, and hopefully things work out for him and he gets his business back on track.
That would have been quite appropriate. Who can it be now? Well, it's probably the Inland Revenue in Australia looking to deal with them, you know. Right, brilliant information from Danny. Again, always keep an open mind, as we say, and if it resonates with you, great. If not, then fine. Do the research, check it out, and see what other people are saying. Now, I just want to remind for people, at the start of the show, we said that some listeners remember that Trevor, they had to move the Open Mind Conference to November because we had bad weather. The beast from the east happened and we had loads of snow and the conference was cancelled, or not cancelled, but we moved to November. And we're going to be at the conference. We're going to do a talk at the conference. But Trevor was out of pocket and we said, well, look, we'll try and do fundraising if it's really, really bad. But apparently Trevor said himself and the team, there's very few cancellations, so they're okay. But one of the ideas we suggested about doing fundraiser was to actually do an auction to raise funds for Trevor. But as he doesn't need it, what we're going to do anyway is we're still going to have the auction, but we're going to raise funds for the Mead food bank Ashleen's in charge of there. And the auction is dinner with myself and Steve. We do, that might be good for you, that might be bad for you, we don't know. But we have a bid in already, and it's a bid for €100 for a meal with myself and Steve. Now obviously we'll pay for the meal. We can't pay for your travelling expenses, you have to pay for them. But we'll pay for the meal and we'll have good conversation, we'll have good food. And any funds raised from the auction, will go towards food for the Mead Food Bank to help struggling families with food. And if we get a large amount, obviously we'll divide it up between groups as well. And so what you do is send us an email with your bid, and we'll update it, and it's on the website. You'll see what the latest bid is on the website. So we'll probably run it till the end of May and see how we get on. And as I say, it's going to a good cause anyway. So if you want to bid, just send us an email. Now the other thing is, we talked about the Linda and Gordon in Balbriggan, and we're just waiting on Vin. We have limited funds at OYM, but we just felt with what went on and them being evicted and them being homeless, we said, right, why not use our funds for, at least we pay some, there's a local hotel they're staying in, and myself and Steve said we're going to pay for 2 nights of the hotel for them to stay in, just so they can have a roof over their head, they can have a bed to lie on, and they can just kind of get their thoughts together and decide what they're going to do and sort things out. So we're just waiting on Vin to contact us, to hopefully when that will take place, when he needs the funding, and then we'll actually we'll cover the cost of that. So I'm sure our listeners won't mind using their donations for that, because it's a good cause. And as I say, the couple, they don't have, their friends and family are not in a position to put them up, so they are literally homeless, nowhere to go. So we just said, look, we'll cover 2 nights in the hotel, at least it's something. It'll give them a break. So that's what we're aiming to do. And sure, if it's the case that they're okay and they get sorted, sure, we'll probably just do a donation to them anyway to help them out. We'll speak to Vin, because Vin's organising that at the moment. I think he's setting up a GoFundMe page at the moment. So that's the plan of attack. Now for next week, I don't know whether this is going to happen or not, but we'll see what happens. I found an old audio tape of a band that I used to see on a regular basis in Dublin in the 80s, because people by now probably know that I used to play drums and play in bands at that time as well. And then I'd come across, Finn knew the guy who actually did sound for this band, but also in the 90s he also played drums with them. So myself and John said we might do a show on PIR this Friday, between 8 and 9, I think, or 9 and 10, something like that. And we're just going to reminisce. It's just a breakaway from the norm, and we're going to reminisce about the music in the 80s and this band, and the 80s in general, and what the scene was like. Maybe, we'll see what happens. Just keep an eye on PIR. I might just post it up on OYM just to let people know. But it won't be on OYM, it'll be on PIR. For an hour or maybe 2 hours, depending on the time, maybe an hour. So just that's the plan of attack anyway. We're going to reminisce. But I did put the audio tape of the band up on my own personal YouTube account, and it's a band called The Business. And brilliant band, brilliant musicians, brilliant time. But there you go. So what you've got planned for the week? Anything coming up for you?
I'm going on tour there in the morning, you know. I just want to mention two things very quickly. One is, I'm sure everyone remembers the game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Well, it's back for a week. I think it's just a 7-day run, and Chris Tarrant is not in the hot seat on this particular version of the show. It's Jeremy Clarkson. And the very first one was on last night, and I have to say wasn't very impressed with Jeremy Clarkson. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do like the odd game show just to kind of test the grey matter. And I have to say, Jeremy Clarkson, he hasn't got a patch on Chris Tarrant. So bring back Chris, that's all I'd say. And the second thing, I just want to say, very happy anniversary to my wife in light of her wedding anniversary, which is going to happen tomorrow. We've been married for 24 years. Yes,
24 years. Silver next year. Is it silver?
I haven't a clue.
Silver next year.
Yeah, so I know she just popped on the chat room there very late, so I know she's listening in. So I just want to say happy anniversary.
Right.
So there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Long time. Now, the guest on next week, this is kind of, something that subject we never approached before, but the guest is called Sidney Ross Singer, and his wife Soma is on, and he's done an awful lot of research, and he has a book out and everything, and it's got to do with bras cause breast cancer, right?
So take them off and burn them, ladies. Yeah,
well, I get a bit of an itch with mine now and again.
I noticed you're chafing.
Chafing a bit with my one. Our man boobs again. But no, apparently he's done an awful lot of research. Him and his wife have done an awful lot of research, and he has all the science behind it as to why, bras cause breast cancer. And so we've asked him to come on. It was actually an email that was sent over, I think, by Walter Graham or Richard Cumbers, not too sure. I think Walter sent it over, and he said you should interview this guy. He's got a very high IQ apparently, and he's done loads of research into it. And for the ladies who are listening to the show, or you have friends, I'd tune in and listen to what he says next week, because, as I say, him and his wife has done a lot of research on this, and he'll tell you the reasons why. And he's trying to get this to educate people about, that, by the way, these bras that you've been wearing for the last, since they've invented them, the underwire bra, this is what's causing it, or one of the causes at least of breast cancer. So it might be worthwhile tuning in and having a listen to that on a serious note, because you never know. You might learn something from it. So that's the guest on for next week. And we are trying to, thanks again for people sending in the links and suggesting other guests as well. We are trying to get other guests on as usual. Sometimes we have to wait for them to get back to us, and other times there's some dates you can't do, so we have to move them around and stuff like that. But there is an awful lot going on, and there are positives, so I don't want people getting down and getting depressed. There's an awful lot going on. There's an awful lot of changes going on, and positive changes as well. It's just going to take time, as we said, with Danny. And Danny said he's going to be up for doing a part 2. So maybe at the end of the year we'll do a part 2 with Danny or something like that, and then we kind of review the year 2018 and see what happens. It would be great to think that would be the case, that 2019 was going to be the year. But look, there's no promises. We have to play it by ear. But anyway, I'm going to finish up, and we're going to do our bit and pass off to PIR. Steve probably has some information on that. So for myself, Alan James, take it easy, have a good week. If you have any information, let us know, email us over. And the project that I was working on, I'm now finished with for the time being, so I have a bit more time on my hands, so I'll be able to look at stuff a bit more. But thanks again for tuning in. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Okay, for myself, Stephen George, I just want to say thanks to everyone who joined in on both of the chat rooms this evening. You're most very welcome. And normally we hand over to Barry Prince on People's Internet Radio, but Barry can't make it this evening, so Steve Roberts will be standing in for Barry. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up at 9 o'clock in merely seconds time. So until next week, we'll say adios and have a fantastic week. Enjoy the sunshine. Bye bye.